Alright, so while I work on some other projects that I actually care about, I need some low effort filler to keep my channel up with the stupid YouTube algorithms. Low effort. Maybe try to ride on the coattails of someone more popular? Ah, perfect. Fellow anime YouTuber and top 10 list person Misty Chronexia recently released a pilot episode of his anime series. It's based on his novel and took 8 months to produce. Using voice talent from other popular YouTubers and with a budget of $60,000 for 10 minutes, this should be amazing. Oh. Oh my. Oh. This is, obviously I was setting up for this to be pretty bad, but I seriously wasn't expecting it to be this bad. Unless the goal was to recreate the feel of Garzy's wing, it's pretty safe to say that you fell a little bit short of whatever it was that you set out to do here, Misty. And look, I get that animation is an extremely hard, expensive thing to produce, and this is the first effort from someone versed in a completely different platform. So if Misty or someone involved in the production happens to be watching, firstly, my condolences, but also please don't take any of my criticism or jokes too harshly. Keep in mind I usually review good anime, so this is kind of a new thing for me, and I need to be honest in my opinion. I'm gonna limit myself to only 3 jokes about the animation. That mostly makes fun of itself, and it can be explained away as budgetary constraints, so I'm giving that a slide and just calling it a null. But I am gonna call whatever this steaming pile of animation self-identifies as on just about every other aspect of the production. Let's start with the writing.
That's so sad. Die, make me.
At first I thought it was just bad acting. You know, the kind of acting that gives dubbed anime a bad name, or maybe even closer to fan dub level of delivery, and that's very true in some cases, but quite frankly, I don't think anyone could have delivered this drivel coherently. The inconsistent and non-existent sound mixing isn't helping anyone's performance either. Instead of introducing us to the characters through storytelling, we're given a huge setting and plot dump from what I assume is the generic main character, introducing us to the world and the other generic characters. We're given their names and races, but no real depth to anything. Pretty much sums up this whole thing. So immediately after that huge plot dump, we're thrown into the quote-unquote story, which takes the form of another major plot dump through the medium of obscure characters and references that weren't mentioned the first time. So at least we know some random asshole named Vince is trying to destroy the ball of vitality or some random shit like that, and there's a goddess of energy named Mana. Real original name.
Mana? The goddess of energy. She's a goddess. We don't know how she'll react.
Also, apparently there's a king who can send giant birds, and everyone is already on the battlefield. I guess that's every single one of the plot dump characters from before. Okay, we're about 3 minutes in and I'm already fed up. There's been no attempt to give any kind of characterization, world building, or point. You just can't have people say random names, things, and places and call it a plot. Am I supposed to have read the book first for this to make any sense? Because the rest of the episode is literally just a poorly animated fight until the goddess shows up. I'd say this is a really unsubtle attempt at Deus Ex Machina, but judging based on the level of writing shown here, I'm pretty sure that's just a wild fluke.
Mana? The goddess of energy. She's a goddess. We don't know how she'll react.
I learned nothing about any of the characters or any kind of conflict except that Vince is trying to destroy the Orb of MacGuffin, which leads to the fight scene, and then in the last minute it just randomly jumps 25 years ahead to a completely new set of generic characters which we know nothing about and have no relevance whatsoever to what the fuck preceded it. Okay, Fade, calm down. Is this real life? In 8 months, none of the dozens of people involved in the production of this episode had a clue to speak up. I feel kinda bad making fun because it seems like on some levels there was a lot put into this, but as a reviewer I have to be honest. In its current state, it's only worth checking out for the so bad it's good value. You can tell that there was a great amount of ambition, but everything just falls apart right away. Again, I'm trying not to be too harsh on the animation, but there are indeed some interesting sequences in there, but it's very inconsistent to say the least. I'm sure there's a few memes we can salvage out of it or something. Some of the voice actors are clearly very talented, but aren't given anything worth working with. And let's be honest here, some of the line readings are just plain horrible.
Mana? The goddess of energy. She's a goddess. We don't know how she'll react.
While some of the characters' aesthetic design is merely mediocre, everyone just comes off as an empty shell where a character should be. Or shouldn't be in most cases. I remembered maybe 1 or 2 of the names, and everyone else just kinda blurred together in a generic haze of nothing being relevant or resembling a plot or a point. The only thing I don't really have criticism of is the music, and that's to say I didn't really notice it. It was there, doing the best it could, kinda like it was ashamed to exist in this form and just wanted to keep its head down and hope no one noticed it. So look, Misty, this was your first rodeo and it sucked. Real bad. Maybe one of the worst things I've seen in history. As someone who's made a top 10 worst anime video yourself,
this has to be the most horrible anime ever created. Not a single good quality can redeem this wasted trash. It's got distasteful voiceover, mediocre animation, terrible lip syncing, pathetic art, disgusting CG, a despicable story, and a simply laughable outcome that you can just not take this anime seriously whatsoever. Honestly, it's so bad. So bad that I would believe it if somebody told me it was good because it's so bad. It's so bad.
Maybe take a moment to reflect on what you think makes an anime good, and then hire a writer who knows better.
Mana? The goddess of energy. She's a goddess. We don't know how she'll react.
This production was doomed the second you decided not to focus on characters or storytelling or being coherent. So I don't think any of the issues with this pilot had to do with the budget. I can clearly tell that it started with the script. Maybe the story comes across better in the books, I don't know, but I think I've had my fill. As a relatively small channel, I get crapped on pretty heavily at the mere mention of fan funding, so this being the result of $60,000 just boggles my mind. It kinda gives all of us YouTubers a bad name. Hopefully I wasn't too harsh, and don't get me wrong, whatever you want to call this really does suck as much as I've stated, but I encourage Misty and the crew to go back to the drawing board and attempt to make something worth watching going forward. There is some potential here, but you really skipped out on two fundamentals, writing and audio, as well as so much other stuff that's just not even worth addressing at this point. In this case, the visuals fell flat, and it had nothing else to fall back on. And that's really sad, because with an afternoon or two of writing, a day of audio work, and a slightly scaled-back ambition, you could have shown much better results. I'm aware that people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, and heaven forbid I've made bad videos in the past. Not $60,000 failures, but I've definitely tried and failed to fan fund some more ambitious projects. So if nothing else, I have to respect the drive and resolve put forth to at least take on something this ambitious and get as far as they have. Even if the result is a horrible abomination that never should have been unleashed on this earth. Man, this was supposed to be a low-effort video. Well, at least it got a reaction out of me. Ending stuff. Make sure to send me your bad Chronexia gifts on Twitter. Also, comment, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Blah blah blah, Fade Dragon Tier. Peace out.
Mana? The goddess of energy. She's a goddess. We don't know how she'll react.